That was an interesting start.
I love the creativity.
Yeah, we give all the credit to Dan Zeke there. He put together that.
Oh well, that too. I was like people, MacGyvering their masks.
Yeah, I think I like the lettuce mask.
It's got to be nice and breathable. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, start eating my lunch that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Well, welcome everybody to Milford Radio. Thanks for joining us. As always, it's great to see everybody joining us. I'm Mark Kaminsky, joined by Dan Zeke and Chris Heise. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Heise's in the dark. Heise's in the dark battling some poison ivy.
Poison ivy. It was it was a side or a byproduct of the storm. Cut down that tree. Well, the tree came down. Nature did that, but my own doing of rolling around in poison ivy vines that are wrapped around that tree.
Oh man,
puffy eyed and itchy.
You can't see it between hair and makeup and the lighting guys. Yeah. They did a great job.
Yeah, good.
Zeke is bright and chipper right now. He looks good.
Yeah.
He's a YouTube star now. A YouTube star. Speaking of, let's talk about we were off last week. The week prior, we were joined by Chris Zach from the Milford Fire Department. And that was a really good show. I got to say, after that show, I ended up going to the Charles Island Music Festival, where there was a ton of firemen.
Looked like a lot of fun.
It was a great time, and ran into a lot of firemen there, and they were all just super excited that, first of all, we had the fire department on, and second, just how prepared and the massive amount of information that guy has in his head that he just spewed upon us.
Yeah.
He's a pro.
He is. I was super impressed on the, how quickly they get out to the people in trouble, like off of Charles Island, or that fall off a boat, or all that kind of stuff. But the way that they get, I forgot what he called it, but call it, boat one goes out, the bigger boat, but the guys are on jet skis, they go out, they do the rescue. Yeah. It was very cool. It was interesting.
Yeah, I was impressed that they went to 8,000, was it 8,000 calls in 1 year? Something like that. Yeah, it was crazy.
All right, I'm posting the link right now that you could join us. If you're watching us on Facebook or on the YouTube, you could join us with that link. You'll be live right into the show. You could join us as a guest. If you post any comments on Facebook and YouTube, we can see those. So post them. If you have a question for our guest tonight, if you have a question for us, feel free to post them. And if we see them, because we're typically busy talking and talking about nonsense, we will try to put it up on the screen and get that thing going. So, Heise, you talked about the storm that came through, which was devastating. And there's a lot of things to talk about there, but I mean, the main thing is either, I don't know if the electric companies, so here in Connecticut, we have Eversource and we have United Illuminating. We have UI here in this area. I don't know if the systems are that old that they can't handle this stuff. I understand trees going down is an issue, and they can't stop that, right? You can't stop a tree ripping down a bunch of power lines, but the response rate and the backup plans and not having crews ready, and I understand COVID's going on too, but when we're in the middle of heat waves and there's 50-something thousand people just in the UI side, there's still 27,000 people in the UI side alone out of power. I just got my power on Saturday, so wow. It's been brutal. Heise, do you have power?
We got it back Saturday afternoon. Yeah.
Okay. Zeke, did you lose it in your place?
No, I never lost anything. Power, internet, anything.
All right. So Zeke's out of the show now. Wow. That's around it.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I mean, you're right. You can't help trees falling down and everything else. I think it really goes to, I don't know. I didn't really think the storm was going to be that bad, right? But
me neither.
A lot more money to understand that, hey, even if the storm is coming close to what it did, they better be ready to run crews out. And I don't think it's the systems. I think it's the process in which they maybe failed in having enough people ready to be out there, and trucks and everything else.
Right. And with that being said, I mean, I would like to personally thank the linesmen, I think it's Department of Public Works that have to physically, because the UI guys and girls are not touching any trees. So the city has to get out there first, get the trees off the lines, and then UI comes in and restores power. Those individuals on both sides were working their butt off, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I guess it's never good enough.
No.
You know, if I'm out for 20 minutes, I'm not happy. But when I was out for, call it 5 days, 4 days, it's painful. Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking about being inconvenienced about not having internet, maybe losing food in our fridge and not having AC. But, for people that depend on the electricity to breathe, on the ventilators and stuff at home, oxygen tanks, elderly that can't get out of their house for food and everything else, I think those are the people that really have something to gripe about. But
yeah. I was pretty hot, so I'm griping too. I didn't have my air conditioner.
I was driving from Mystic to West Haven during the when all the wind was going on. Yeah, it was absolutely nuts. It was crazy. All the tractor trailers were pulled over on the side of the road. But it was crazy.
That was crazy. It was a crazy storm. With that being said, State Senator James Maroney, right here in Milford, and he oversees Woodbridge, Milford, Orange, West Haven. He wrote a letter to the UI, the CEO of UI, on how they handled the storm. And here's just a snippet of the letter that he wrote. James is a friend of the show. It says, as I write this, almost 60% of Orange, 55% of Woodbridge, 36% of Milford, and 8% of West Haven are without power. How can the United Illuminating Company have such a poor response to a well-forecasted tropical storm? What has the company done over the past decade to harden critical infrastructure and increase restoration times? And why did those efforts fail during the storm? My constituents deserve an answer. Then Maroney's also working with some other lawmakers to pressure UI and actually Eversource as well, which is really like 95% of the state is Eversource. We're in this small pocket. He's pressuring them to give credits to all of us paying customers who were out. So it's, again, it goes back to, I can imagine a storm like that ripping down trees and you're responsible for that. But I think I did hear Governor Lamont say something that the state kicks back something like 9% dollar-wise back to these utility companies to help them operate and all that. And still our rates keep going up, but our service level isn't the greatest. So maybe this storm is a blessing of some sort that we might get some change going on. I don't know.
Yeah. It definitely, I don't know. It definitely shed some light on a problem, huh?
Yeah. If you turn your lights on higher, we could shed some light on your problem.
That dark? It's really that dark in here?
No, you look good. You look good.
All right, look at the gleam.
Nice. Yeah. Freshly shaven.
Yeah, that's freshly shaved. This storm was just the added, thing to 2020. I mean, we've had presidential impeachment trials. We've had Kobe Bryant passed away. Live events and sports are canceled. Pandemic. Schools are closed. Lost jobs. Business are going under. Wildfires in California. Power outages during a heat wave. Locust swarms. Social unrest. The Beirut explosion, which was absolutely unbelievable.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
And then murder hornets. I mean, what else could be going on?
What about the earthquake in North Carolina or Virginia?
Yeah. That just happened, right?
Yeah. That was recent.
Yeah.
That was recent. So with COVID and our guests, who we're going to get to in just a moment, Connecticut seems to be, when we look at the greater scheme of things, seems to be handling this really well. Connecticut just has added Hawaii, South Dakota, and the Virgin Islands to its COVID travel advisory list, which means they basically have to fill out a form and then, 14 days, sit back, and when they get back to their thing. Alaska, New Mexico, Ohio, and Rhode Island have been removed from the list, which is good to see. That means those states are, doing well, just like we are. I just wanted to share this quick picture. Let's see. We do have some notes in here.
I heard it's a $1,000 fine, I think, if you get caught coming and staying and not quarantining.
Yeah, there was 2 people, I guess, that the state that Governor Lamont did it for. But take a look at this picture here that I just put on the page. This is this data comes from the Connecticut government portal as of yesterday, August 10th at 4 p.m. This shows that 51 people are currently hospitalized in the entire state of Connecticut. If we put that in perspective, we have 3.7 as of 2020, the report that I saw. We have 3.7 million people here in Connecticut. And out of those 3.7, 51 of those people are currently in the hospital due to COVID.
Whew.
That's great.
And then it shows the pluses and minuses of, certain counties, which is a -1. We're down 1. I don't know if that's from the previous day. I don't know how often they do this report, but it's pretty interesting. And if we put that into perspective, at a 51 people in the hospital right now would be at a 1% death rate would be about 0.5 people. So a half a person could potentially die, but that's at a 1%. So I thought that was interesting.
Amazing.
That's right from the state of Connecticut website, and anyone can find that at ct.gov. So I think we get to our guest tonight, seeing that we're just throwing out all these COVID numbers without knowing anything. I basically barely got through high school and college. So our guest tonight is another one of those very busy people from the city of Milford. She's the city health director, and we're going to bring in Deepa Joseph right now. Deepa, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Doing well.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. It's great. So give us, I don't know, none of my friends ever became a health director of anything, including a gym or whatever it may be, but give us a little bit of background of what a health director is and what you're responsible for here in the city of Milford.
Sure. So the health director is tasked with protecting the health of the community that they're in. So it varies from anything from health education to enforcement to disease surveillance, infection control. So it really runs the gamut. And we cover everything from the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe, everything all around you. And we work to just make sure that we promote health. That's
great. That makes sense, and that's basically everything under the sun. Maybe Zeke there. I think that's Zeke. So overall, how has Milford handled the pandemic? I know that's a very broad question, but I'm sure you're in communication often with other cities, probably the state level. How has Milford done when it comes to just the pandemic so far, from the past?
Sure. I think that, Milford, we have the hashtag Milford Strong. And I think that just like with many other things that Milford encounters, we're a community that comes together and gets stronger when we face things like this pandemic. So COVID-19 has been the same as other things. We've come together even while we have to stay 6 feet apart. And we've done a good job overall with a really challenging situation. And so I think we're pretty in line with what we're seeing at the state level as well. So I know you were talking earlier about the hospitalizations and just, I'm sure you've seen the state infection rate. And so Milford's doing its part to make sure that we stay at those low levels and keep working at it every day.
What has been most challenging for you as far as the pandemic? Has it been businesses? Has it been the school side? And I'm sure the school side, we've had Dr. Kataya on here multiple times already because it is a hot topic, and it's only going to get hotter and hotter as we get closer to there. But what has been, and I'm sure there's been a lot of them, but what has been some of your top issues or, hardest to handle?
I think that with a pandemic like this, where at least in, I think most of our lifetimes, we haven't seen anything like this, just the sheer nature of COVID-19, that things change on hour to hour, minute to minute basis, and being able to, with all of those things you mentioned, with businesses, with school reopening plans, with contact tracing, with case rates and infections, just keeping up with all the things that change so quickly, and that we learn when we learn more about this virus, that really is the most challenging part, for sure. So I don't know that I could pick one specific area, but it's just the nature of this virus overall makes it challenging because things change quickly and you have to be ready to adapt.
Right.
Do you think overall that the city of Milford has had enough support as far as like the state or the federal support that has come down?
I think on a statewide level, we have actually, even on a federal level, we started with the Milford Health Department. I think our first call on COVID-19 was probably the last week of January this year, where we started getting on weekly calls with the CDC and then the state. And that has continued either multiple times a week or at a minimum weekly to make sure we're all on the same page. And again, sharing information. So I think in terms of that, we've had support. But I also know that, and I may be a little biased here, but I think we have a really great health department with strong staff. And so there have been a lot of things that we've needed to figure out on a local level. And again, our municipal partners, the school system, the hospital in Milford, we've just been able to come together and figure out things locally when we haven't necessarily had a statewide answer or solution, or even a federal consensus on something.
Yeah, I think that's probably obviously the biggest challenge. I mean, this isn't like a turnkey result. Like, you can't just say, oh, we've encountered this before and this is what we did. Everything is brand new every single day.
You're writing the story.
Right, absolutely. Writing the story right when you're in the middle of it. And we at the health department, so I've been with the health department for about 16 years now. And wow. Since I started there, we've been working on pandemic influenza planning, anticipating a pandemic flu. And right when this started, we reviewed those plans and quickly realized that everything had to change because of just, again, the nature of this virus. So definitely it's building the airplane while you're flying it.
What are your views on the schools opening? What do you think the biggest hurdles are going to be? And I'm sure there is, but is there a plan in place if kids start to test positive? What are the effects on their family and quarantining for the parents and everything else and back at home base?
Right. So I think there were a few questions there that I'll try to tackle. So Connecticut as a state is in a really good place for schools to reopen right now. Our infection rates are low. So the same is true for Milford. And so I think while people might be watching the news about what might be happening in the South or West as schools are opening, and there's news about, large numbers of students being positive and getting infected and whole schools quarantining, I think it's important to recognize in those states, their context is a little bit different than in the state of Connecticut, having a low infection rate. So that is a really good thing for us in Milford to be able to open schools safely. And so I think we have some really strong plans that are still, again, on a day-to-day basis, we're working on those plans closely with Milford Public Schools, with the State Department of Public Health and the State Department of Education. But, I think, in light of the low infection rate, it is a good time to have in-person school and get children in, because we know that that's good for their mental and emotional health, particularly after being out of in-classroom learning for so long. That being said, to your question about, if a student becomes positive and what happens then, we are working on all of those protocols, because I know that the community wants to hear a lot of specifics around that. And I think we're working to put out some more specific information, but just to shed some light on how it will work in general, is really, I'm sure you've heard at the state talking about contact tracing. So the Milford Health Department's been doing contact tracing since our first case in Milford in March, and we've continued to do that. So that really will guide how things go in this process. So right now, if we have a confirmed case in the community, we follow up with them, we interview them, we try to determine where their exposure may have been, and then identify their close contact. So a close contact by the CDC is defined as being within 6 feet of someone for more than 15 minutes, regardless of if you're wearing a mask or face covering or not. So once we identify those contacts, those are the individuals that we're going to say, you need to quarantine for 14 days because you've been exposed. So that's the process that happens right now. And so it will be a version of that. And that'll be the guiding principle that happens once schools open and if we have positive cases identified.
That makes sense. I mean, I think what Heisa was getting at is it was a question on some Facebook page, and you don't even have to answer this, but to the point is, in other states, if a child tests positive, that child, the classmates, and all of their parents have to quarantine. So that's where I think a lot of parents are saying, okay, I know Milford is, at least what we've heard so far, is going to do these cohorts, right? So you're in a class of X amount of kids, a kid gets or tests positive, that classroom, that cohort goes home and stays home for 2 weeks. But now, taking that a step further is, okay, if that's my kid, now he comes home, do I have to quarantine and miss 14 days of work? So it's I don't know what is the right answer, what's not. And I know, to your point, you said Connecticut and Milford are doing really well. So hopefully we don't have to worry about these things, but I'm sure that kind of question it's on the table for you.
Absolutely. So again, guiding principle with contact tracing that we're doing right now is we look to quarantine those close contacts, but not necessarily contacts of contacts, if that makes sense. So right now, if there's a confirmed case, we're going to quarantine the close contacts of that case. But if those close contacts have other close contacts or household contacts, we're not necessarily saying you're a contact of a contact, so you must quarantine. So we want to make sure we're bringing it to that circle.
Okay, that makes sense. With schools as well, because you were talking about there's the food issue, the air, not issues, and I'm not just talking just COVID, but you kind of handle everything. The kids are gonna be going back to school, and it could potentially be 100 degrees in a school that's not air conditioned. Are there plans for that? Is it maybe outdoor school? I know we're going half days, right, to start here in Milford, or at least that's the plan today. Is there any talk about air quality potentially?
Absolutely. So what goes into these plans for reopening schools is looking at it from every level. So outside of the academic planning and how many days in person, hybrid, et cetera, we're looking at the physical plant too, and looking at what makes sense. So we're looking at ventilation, air circulation, cleaning, disinfection, all those environmental factors. And think about it, everything that we've been stressing to everyone since March in terms of wash your hands, clean and disinfect high touch points, wear a mask, stay home if you're sick. So we take those sort of 5 or 6 basic concepts and then move them into the school setting and figure out how we handle each of those things in the school setting. So absolutely, ventilation, air circulation, cleaning, disinfection. Those are all parts of what we're planning for.
Right. I guess the positive of this is people, have to be told to wash their hands, and hopefully some of those people are doing it. I mean, I think the four of us I could see on the screen have probably been washing our hands our entire life, but it's interesting that we have to tell people to do that.
Absolutely.
So reopening the city. I mean, I know it's more than just schools, and I know schools are super important, and that is the hot topic, and that's something that we're going to be talking about hardcore for the next couple weeks and potentially even months. Because especially when we start getting in the cold and flu season, and who knows what's going to happen. But reopening the city as a whole, restaurants, businesses, all this kind of stuff. Do you have any insight as far as, I know the state of Connecticut has kind of slowed down and said, all right, we're kind of pausing where we are on the reopening, but do you have any insight as far as what that's going to look like in the near future?
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. What's in the near future? Was that the question?
Yeah, the reopening as far as the city businesses and basically everything else on top of schools.
So in Milford, there's a high percentage of most things that are reopened in line with what the state of Connecticut has done. And Milford started a Reopen Milford advisory group a few months ago, whose goal was really to focus on businesses and reopening businesses. And at the same time, there were community partners meeting about reopening houses of worship and reopening childcare and all of those pieces. So, we are fairly open within the guidelines of the state of Connecticut sector rules for each sector that we're in. So, so we're doing a good job. And the health department has reviewed many a plan for reopening and has been involved, especially with those businesses that would be considered public health facilities where we're out and doing inspections, like you mentioned, restaurants or personal care salons, places like that. We're able to make sure and verify through inspections that the plans that they wrote are in fact being implemented. And that's all key. All those pieces are key to making sure that we stay in this place where we're able to stay open, at least to where we are right now, if not being able to open up a little bit more in the future. So the goal is absolutely, hopefully, we're able to be 100% open at some point. The question is when, but for right now, Milford businesses, agencies, organizations, all doing a really good job at really trying to implement those sector rules and keep people safe while they're open.
So that makes complete sense. And is that so the Milford Sports Pub is something that just hit, media kind of recently, and we don't consider ourselves media. We just kind of just BS with guests and try to get some information out. But I mean, that's coming from your office, right? You're doing the inspection. I guess two things on that. Number one, I'm hoping that sends a message that restaurants are following the protocols that they need to follow, and not just restaurants, anybody, no matter what business you're doing. I mean, I own a business, and I have to make sure that I'm doing certain things that I can allow, the business to continue running. What exactly, and I think people read most of the information about the Milford Sports Pub, but is that kind of the messaging saying, hey, you got everybody follow directions or there's gonna be a price?
So we, as the health department, are tasked with enforcing the governor's executive orders, the state of Connecticut sector rules, and any of our local emergency orders with any of these facilities. And our goal at the health department in terms of enforcement is we're not necessarily into let's take a stick and wag our finger and make you feel horrible about yourself. Our goal is really always education. So we have really taken that educational approach with all of our facilities to, if we get a complaint, which residents and people who are visiting Milford will call us and complain if they see violations of not just the COVID rules, but also anything else that might come up. And we follow up on all of those complaints and do an investigation. If when we do an investigation, we're not able to confirm the complaint, then, you know, we move on to the next thing we have to do. But if we go out there and we're able to confirm that there is in fact validity to the complaint we received, then we try to work with the establishment owners to make sure they're clear on what, especially with COVID being such a dynamic situation, to make sure everyone's clear on what the rules are and work with them to implement those rules more consistently and thoroughly.
Right.
And once we do that, that's kind of our on-site warning, you know, here are the rules, you didn't really meet them, but let's work on this together and get this right. And then if they're not able to do that and we receive additional complaints, then, you know, we are tasked with enforcing these rules and making sure that ultimately we protect the public's health. And so that is what you saw with that establishment you referenced.
Interesting. That's
and that's what
that makes
we continue
sense.
to do this project.
Right. And I mean, the ultimate goal is that all of this goes away. I mean, I don't want to be wearing a mask for the next 5 years of my life. I want my kids to be able to go to school. My son's going to high school. I want, as a freshman, I want him to be able to enjoy that. We just need this to go away. With that being said, I mean, I'll end this and let you go, but I just have two more things. One is, what do you say to the people? I mean, you're dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. And unfortunately today we're only talking about COVID, but I know you guys handle so much more. But with the coronavirus, what do you say to people who are underplaying this? And there's plenty of people out there that are walking into gas stations, walking into restaurants, walking into, I forgot which retailer I walked into the other day, and a person didn't have a mask. Someone asked them to leave, and it turned into this argument. What do you say to those people who are just not taking this serious?
I think, and one of the reasons I was excited to come on this show, even though it's great to be on the show, was that it's important for people to understand whether you're underplaying this or whether you weren't underplaying it, but now because we have such a low infection rate, people are starting to maybe feel a little bit more comfortable and feel a little bit more lax about things. The key to keeping us where we are at a low infection rate and keeping us in a place where things can still be open and all of that is making sure that not only do the businesses, the schools, everything else do their part, but that we do our part as residents of the community and as visitors to the community or as employees in the community, that we are being diligent about wearing a mask, about social distancing, about all of those other pieces that are really important, because we are the key to getting us to a place where hopefully this goes away eventually. So I think to the people who maybe haven't even necessarily been underplaying it, but feel like we're in a better place, it's that we are in a better place, but that's reason to continue to be really vigilant to keep us where we are. And then for the people who are underplaying it, you know, unfortunately, my department is the department that gets the reports of every positive case in Milford. So what I can tell you is that it's real, it's here, and we're talking to your fellow residents and neighbors and interviewing them and doing the best job that we can to contact trace and give everybody the information to protect the public's health. So, but we really need everyone else to do their part to help us keep us moving in the right direction.
Yeah, you're right. Excuse me. It is a community. Go ahead, Zeke.
I think one of the most common themes of all the guests we've had on the show has been like mental stability and being, you know, prepared for everything. And I have to say that, you know, with Dr. Kataya doing her end, and we had, you know, had Ben on a couple times, and now hearing what you're doing, you know, I think Milford should be very confident to know that they are safe and they are safe to go out, you know, to restaurants, and that everyone has been working really, really hard to make sure that you're not locked into your house or your apartment all the time. And I think that is something that's been a common theme of everybody. And it's for that mental stability of, yes, life can go on.
Yep, absolutely. Deepa, is there anything else you wanted to share with the community? Maybe something, a message that you want to send out, or there's something that you guys are doing at the health department that you would like the community to know?
I think just two things. One, if unfortunately you have to be in that situation where maybe you test positive or maybe you're identified as a close contact, please pick up our phone call and help us to keep the community safe by allowing us to really do a great job at contact tracing and making sure everyone stays safe. And just two, keep washing your hands, keep staying at home if you're sick, keep social distancing, and wear those masks. And together we will absolutely get through this.
Yeah, great message. Agree with you 100%. Hopefully people were washing their hands prior to COVID coming through, but we'll get there. Deepa Joseph, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and you're welcome anytime. If you have any big updates or anything like that, you want to come back on, please do. Give us a shout.
I have one question. Did you see our intro?
I did.
Which was your favorite
laughing. I was laughing, and then I was laughing and hoping no one tries to do that when school opens.
Yeah, right.
Oh, right. That I didn't even think about school, but middle school and high schoolers might be doing some crazy masks. That's for sure. Well, thank you, Deepa. We appreciate your time.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Deepa Joseph, Health Director for the City of Milford. Guys, good interview. A lot of information there.
Not an easy job. It's probably always on the thoughts of, I'm sure, every health director of what to be ready for. That should be thrown into the situation. I'm sure it definitely was not what was to be expected.
Right. But it's almost like Zeke said. I just dropped something. Just like Zeke said, whether it's Dr. Kataya, Mayor Blake, Deepa Joseph, the fire department, the police, everyone we've interviewed was thrown into this pile of poopy of COVID and said, bull poopy. That's right. I got kicked off a train for that word. All right, guys, figure it out. We've never done this before in our lives. We have no idea how to do this. And this is across the country, not just Milford. But I think it shows character on how certain individuals who get thrown into a role and something crazy like this happens, how they step up and either get it done or not get it done. And we'll see. I mean, I think a big message that she mentioned is it's all of our rules. I mean, they can come up with rules all day long. It's you either follow the rules or don't follow the rules. And it's up to you. And there's always going to be people. Aaron Judge has hit a home run.
Nice.
So there's always going to be people that don't follow that. But it is what it is. How about you guys? What did you feel on the interview?
Well, I think overall, I mean, I really, everywhere I go, I'm out in the trade, out in visiting accounts, restaurants, bars, stores every single day. And honestly, everywhere I've gone in Connecticut, everyone's been compliant and they're taking, I got my temperature taken at like 10 stores today. So I range between like 97.5 and 98.8, depending on the situation. Do you choose the oral temperature or the rectal? Well, it depends. But everywhere I went, I mean, they have sanitizer everywhere. I mean, honestly, if you wear a mask, keep your hands clean, and you just, stay distant, you're going to be fine, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel for the business owners and the people that are really, their livelihoods are based on being open. And it's almost everyone follows rules. That's great, but it's based on either we're 50% open or we're going to go down to 0 open. So it's kind of like these are the cards we're dealt. We got to work within these guidelines in order to stay open to avoid any kind of spikes. But I don't know. I feel bad for the business owners that depend on the number of people through the door on a daily basis.
Brick and mortar, it hurts. Yeah.
You know, the one thing that, and this is kind of an insight from my opinion, as far as bars and restaurants and, you know, at 50% capacity, having outdoor seating. I mean, even they can, you know, have takeout alcohol now, delivery, curbside. I don't think any of that's going to go away once COVID is over. I think those are additions to their business now that are trying to help them. But I think in the future, if you can make it through, I mean, unfortunately, you have to say that. If you make it through, those additions are going to help you in the long run.
I don't know how the state's going to take those away.
They can't. I don't know if they can.
Back to normal.
Yeah.
You know, are they going to? They're going to say to a bar now. Oh, now you can't sell beer to go, or now you can outdoor patio.
Yeah. I don't think they can.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. We'll see.
They have been. I really, honestly, and I mean this. Like, I've been from Mystic to where did I go today? Salisbury. And every place I've gone to, everyone's been compliant, and it's really great to see.
That is good to see. I mean, you definitely see more of the state than I do, and it's good to hear you say that people are doing that throughout the state. So this weekend was supposed to be the Oyster Festival. Obviously, that has been canceled. Yeah, this is the weekend. Did they announce which band they were bringing? No, he wouldn't tell us, right? We had James on the show. We interviewed him.
Right?
Right. We interviewed him from his bedroom. Remember, he was like sitting on his bed in the dark or something and talking to us. But he would not give up what band that they signed for this year, but they did sign it. And so now they do have that deposit either on that band, I guess, or another band. But this weekend was the weekend. So the DMBA has actually stepped up. Is a motorcycle going by or something? Yeah. Okay. So the DMBA, which is the Downtown Milford Business Association, has put together an outdoor sidewalk sale for this weekend. So a lot of the downtown businesses count on big events for their sales, right? The Oyster Festival, the parade, the Pirate Day, things like that. So a lot of those things have gone away. So they're going to be doing a sidewalk sale this weekend, both days, Saturday, Sunday. Come on down. It's during regular business hours. And a lot of the downtown businesses are going to be out there. And so hopefully we could support local businesses. There's also going to be food vendors out there. And quite a few of the businesses will be down here. So come on down and support your local Milford businesses. It's
awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. I'm so glad.
That's awesome.
Milford Radio. It's just, we are badass. That's what it comes down to. Oh, look who's saying hello. Jeff Browning.
Hey guys. Hey, Jeff.
Give a little shout out to Brewport. Jeff Browning.
Pizza, salad, beer.
That's it. They do a good. Their pizzas are good. I have to say that. So there's a few other things. Steve Cooper, who runs the Milford Performance Center, which is basically out of the Parsons Auditorium, is rolling out a new drive-in concert series. Events will be held in both Milford and Orange. The Milford one will be at the Post Mall, Connecticut Post Mall, and the fairgrounds, the Orange Fairgrounds in Orange, keeping each car socially distanced. So basically, you're gonna be able to go to these shows. They're gonna keep cars socially distanced. That'll allow for up to 4 people to sit outside the car and be able to watch a show. So everyone's safe and things like that. The first show is actually August 28th. And that is going to be in Milford. It's called Lords of 52nd Street, and it's going to be at the Connecticut Post Mall, and you can check that out at the Milford Performance Center.
Cool idea. They got to bring drive-ins back, too.
Yeah, I think so. They were. I saw a story on Jim Gaffigan. He did a small tour of stand-up comedy shows where he was doing it in drive-ins. So people were in their cars, and like to laugh and stuff, they're like, high beams on their car, lights and stuff. In his interview, he was like, it was really weird. It's like for him, it's just dead silent, and you just see car horns and lights going. But that's got to be pretty strange.
Yeah.
So
that's the other thing that's cool is like you see all these people are taking these these other ideas that they had and they're making them socially distanced. It brings out a lot of creativity and events and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. With high school football.
I just read this. I didn't see this before. This is pretty interesting.
I don't know if it's all conferences or not. I know. Well, Zeke, the article you read, what conference was that?
I just read our notes here. I didn't read anything. Yeah.
Okay. So what they're doing is they're moving football to the spring season, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. How they're going to schedule. I mean, when football is not playing their football season, that field is used for, in some schools, not all schools, soccer, lacrosse, a lot of different, track. So there was some talk that maybe instead of the spring, they're going to try to squeeze it in just before the spring. So I don't know. It's going to be right before we went on. Two college conferences. Basically, the whole world has canceled.
Yeah,
what was it?
Big Ten and the Pac-12 canceled.
They canceled, right?
Yeah.
So there's only like 3 conferences left to cancel. I think the rest of the country's already canceled.
Yeah, the SEC will hold out, the little mini NFL league that they have there. But
right,
absolutely,
it's big money, and those. Say what you will about football and big money schools like that, but they fund motorcycle. They fund a lot of other sports. They fund a lot of activities for those colleges. They fund scholarships. So you're really going to see kind of a ripple effect of those TV contracts and having 100,000 fans in a stadium for a game. That revenue is going to be missed.
And that goes into the question of the NFL. Is the NFL going to happen? Their plan is not what NBA, which is in a bubble, and hockey is in a bubble where you can kind of control your guys leaving and coming and going. Where the NFL is saying, hey, the Giants are going to play the San Francisco 49ers. They're flying across the country, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, baseball.
The number of
regional is an issue. Yeah.
You have an NFL team, that's 100 people going from one stadium to the next as far as coaches and trainers and, backup.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So all of that stuff is obviously all up in the air. And to your point, Heisley, you're absolutely right. Almost all of it is money driven. Yes. I'm also, acting a little spoiled that I want to watch football. I want to watch baseball. I want to watch sports. It's something I have a passion for. But at the same time, I survived without sports on. I mean, we could watch the 1986 Mets, World Series and all that kind of stuff 15 times over and over. But from a high school standpoint, that's what we were talking about. I would like the kids to be safe. If we could get through, that fall season and get them into the spring when hopefully we get rid of this thing, COVID meaning, that would be nice to see.
Yeah.
So we talked last show about Costa Azura, down on the Laurel Beach side.
They're going to looks like they're going to be rebuilding it, right?
Yeah, they're redoing the whole thing. They're calling it. It's going to be called Tide, TYDE. The name's going to be Tide at Walnut Beach. And it's going to be a brand new building. They're putting on a second floor. So they're going to be able to they're doing outdoor, there's going to be a wedding area. There's going to be restaurant. There's going to be bar. There's going to be entertainment. It's going to be, I have a feeling it's going to be, and I use the term, call it the Stonebridge of the Devon side, but Stonebridge has come up with this formula of just being printing money on just bringing in a ton of people, entertainment, bands, music, dancing, booze. I think that's what Tide's going to do on the other side of town.
Let's hope. That'd be great.
They're in a much more residential area, though, which I don't know.
They're going to have to fight a lot against that, I bet. There's as far as traffic, parking, noise ordinance. It's not down Milford. And even Stonebridge had that to deal with plenty of times. So
yeah, they did.
It'll be interesting. I'll be there though.
Oh yeah.
If the sun's shining and it's open.
It's the only beachside restaurant. I mean, I did go to Flipside, which is probably the best view because you have the marina. It's really beautiful down there. The new Flipside, which used to be a couple different Mexican restaurants.
The Mexican restaurant, yeah.
Cancun Charlie's was the first one, right?
Oh yeah.
What was Citrus Old Fibbers? Which one was Old Fibbers?
No, that was Archie's.
Archie Moore's, yeah.
What was Citrus?
That was a seafood place.
Was it?
Oh man,
it was
I don't remember.
Red Square. Wasn't it like Red Square before that?
Oh man,
I don't know. They got to bring the Gathering back though.
Oh,
the Gathering would do well.
Oh, Saybrook something? Saybrook Fish House?
That sounds familiar.
Lums?
Yeah.
Steak and Sword?
Steak and Sword.
The Ground Round?
Oh, man.
Wasn't that the place that like the restaurant turned kind of as you were eating?
Ground Round. They had all funny mirrors. They had cartoons like for the kids on. Popcorn boats.
Yeah.
The Purple Bee. Yeah. Remember the Purple Bee?
That was over by Costco.
The Ground Round was.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Purple Bee.
The Purple Bee. That was like a quick fast food place that was there. Yeah.
You know who loved the Purple Bee was Mike from the Seas.
Oh,
yeah, bring it up when you see him.
Sarah said Armory Square.
Armory Square.
Yeah.
And before that, I think it was like Saybrook Fish House or something. It was.
That does sound familiar too. Yeah. Speaking of Sarah, just really quick, her partner has put together a business within a business, which is with schools going on and a lot of people staying at home. They created a company that is doing math homeschooling support. It's called Homeroom. So you can check it out at room17math.com, room17math.com. And they put together this whole curriculum. So if you're teaching your kids from home, basically they built a whole curriculum for your kid, no matter what grade they're in elementary school. So it's really designed to help the parents teach the kids what they would be learning in public school. So it's a pretty cool program. So you can check that out at room17math.com, and it's called Homeroom. So check it out. They're going on a tour of like KC 101 tomorrow. They're doing radio commercials. The company's it's really growing. It's pretty cool. So I'm excited for them. Guys, you guys have anything else? We had a great interview with Deepa Joseph from the Milford Health Department. But are there any other topics that you guys have?
Just don't roll around in poison ivy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm fighting not scratching my face and arms right now.
And
I bet.
Keep drinking beer. It's paying my bills.
Yeah, go buy some of Zeke's beer. So everybody, thank you for joining us. We had a good amount of comments here. Thank you to Deepa Joseph from the Milford Health Department for joining us. We're going to be back here next week. If you ever have any ideas, you can always email us with either complaining about us, new guest topics, anything. milfordradio@gmail.com. Hit us up, like our Facebook page, like our YouTube page, and we will be back. I got to find Zeke's video. This was the intro and is now, I don't know, what is it called? A postro or an outro?
Outro.
All right, we'll go outro. Guys, we'll see you later. Good seeing you. Thank you for being here, Milford Radio.
See ya.